dogs.
Yeah, just don't get her
babies,
going on Law and Order. She'll run down all the Law and Order episodes in every single different variation of it.
Yeah.
I would love to have a more extended Law and Order discussion with you, but something tells me we probably should get to first things first with an actual game.
Oh, football, right.
I mean, it's been, 7 months?
It's been 7 months.
7 months since that dark January evening, the last time we were all together.
The Giants are here. We got some preseason football tonight, fellas.
We got preseason, and the main question, which will permeate this show, is who gets the looky-loo? What do you have your peepers peeled for? What's going to be popular in your ocular? What will give the virus to your iris? All the things to be on the lookout for.
Did you rehearse this at home?
Oh,
I've been doing this for
a running bit.
2-3 years now with various ways of saying, what are you going to be looking for tonight in the Patriots preseason game? Well, I won't be looking for any starters if you believe those reports, but there's plenty of other things to be looking for. So I guess first things first, maybe we should get the keys to the game before we do anything else.
Why did you leave the keys up on the table? You wanted to.
You waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Without these keys, the Patriots are destined and doomed to fail.
Here are Hardy, Paul, and Mike's keys to the game.
Why, did I steal your key to the game also?
You have the key. You have the right one.
Keys to the game are brought to you by Mike, Paul, Tamara, and me, Hardy. Without these keys, the Patriots are destined to lose a game. They don't care if they win or not. And that is the essence of the preseason. But I still think these are more like keys to what the team should be working on tonight, regardless of the win or the loss. So, Mike, would you like to lead us off with your key?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot based on players and seeing some young guys actually get on the field and play in a real game. So that's exciting. But my key was just to something to build off of. Some positive plays, especially in offense. Maybe some of these running plays opening some creases for the young running backs. But it's just hard to take too much of like the team because, as you said, not really going to have starters. So let's go out there and establish the. We're in preseason, so I think it's more about the players. But I think let's highlight some of the positive plays and hopefully some of those young new guys make some big plays and kind of just build some momentum going here into joint practices in the last 2 preseason games.
I think it's a good first, albeit a little basic, a little rudimentary key to the game.
We're starting off with baby steps.
That's your best.
That's what do you expect?
It's not a crappy key.
I wanted to work 3 technique in, but Paul threw me off. So.
Right. What do you expect from
And Paul actually stole my key, so I had to make a new key.
Oh, well, Paul, why don't you go ahead and do the key? Were you looking over Tamara's shoulder when she was writing her key to the game?
I was, and I can certainly understand why, because mine's pretty obvious, so I understand why everybody was probably thinking, and it kind of got blown up now anyway, because according to a lot of reports, a lot of the guys that I wanted to see establish some offensive rhythm will not be playing in this game tonight to establish said offensive rhythm. So, but even though it looks like we won't see Mac Jones tonight, I do think it's been a struggle for the offense during the summer. So I think even if it's Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi, I think it would do them well to have some success tonight, even if it's the backups, especially if it's in the running game. With some of the zone runs that we've been talking about, some of the wide zones, if they can have some success, get it on film and show, the guys in the locker room, the guys in the offensive meeting rooms, just like Mac Jones said the other day, just trust it. Trust the process. Trust what the coaches are telling you, and this stuff can work. So get some rhythm going offensively tonight would be a good positive key.
All right, Tamara, since Paul stole yours, what did you have to revert to?
So I had to revert to the offensive line, gaining some cohesiveness, which that still has to do with the rhythm of the offense, the sync of the offense. I think that it all starts up front. And so far, we have seen the defensive line really take charge of this offense. And so I think that with the musical chairs of the offensive line for the Patriots right now, I'm hoping that they gel together, even though we're not going to see the starters tonight. I do hope that they somehow figure out the best offensive line to make Mac Jones successful.
Well, I mean, what ended up working in your favor was the fact that, like Paul said, Paul, your key is spot on.
Yep.
If the actual starters were going to be in there.
Yeah.
And I think there still can be an element of that. Get something going, some kind of a rhythm, regardless of who's out there. Even if it's so the starters can watch it, kind of like from the sideline.
Right.
and see
Have some
something that's
success.
happening there. But I still, based on what we saw in camp and, what other analysts like you guys have said about it and, what I've heard from other people, the offense is going to be a work in progress for a bit. So I say, and I believe my key, somebody added in a preposition here. I just wanted dial in the defense, which I believe got switched to dial in on the defense.
It
which
changes
is
the whole meaning of
it's
it. Really.
clunky, and it's just, words are my business.
That's a typo on my end. My bad.
Dial in the defense. It's alliterative. It's pithy. And I think this is what this team is going to have to do for the first several weeks of the regular season. I'm not saying they're an all-world defense. I don't even believe that the defense has performed all that much better than the offense in practice because strength of schedule. Let's look at what the defense has had to play against.
Strength of schedule. That's a good line.
I've used it a few
Yeah,
times
it's a
in
good
the last
line.
couple of weeks. So, but still, if one unit is better than the other right now, is anyone going to say offense? Or
No.
No, the defense is
the
better.
defense is
defense
better right
has-
now. So dial in the defense, get that working tonight and the next 2 preseason games, and let that hopefully build on something for the beginning of the regular season, so that you can tread water, make it through the first 4 games, without a losing record, or maybe even, heaven forbid, at 3-1 or something, because your defense is that good and they're keeping you in games.
Yeah, and I think we should point out, too, that earlier in the week, Brian Dable said that the starters are going to play. So I think, to your point, Hardy, this defense needs young, new playmakers to step up. So the fact that guys like Godchaw and Lawrence Guy might not be playing, that's fine. But let's get a look at some of these guys like LeBrian Ray, again, going against good offensive linemen. Let's see how they do. And also, I just want to say, to Tamara's point, I think that there's some questions on the offensive line as to who fits this new scheme and how well these guys fit. And, who of that second level, these Arlington Hambrights of the world, Drew Desjardins, that, they might fit this system a little bit better. Well, it'll be interesting to see out there. I do think the top line is fairly set, with maybe the exception of Michael Onwenu, and Isaiah Wynn's been hurt. So I think there are some questions and maybe some opportunities even for the backups to show what they can do on the offensive line
Yeah,
tonight.
and I think that's where all of our keys sort of transitioned, because when we sort of went over this stuff, because we do a lot of show prep, Hardy, as you know.
Oh, I
Just
know.
talking
So,
ball.
this was earlier in the week before Mike Reese came out with some reports. I think he was the first locally to report that it didn't look like Mac Jones and the starters would see any action tonight. So, yeah, you are looking at the Arlington Hambrights of the world, I think, and those kinds of guys to get Tamara's offensive line cohesion. And you're looking at, I think, the young linebackers, Cameron McGrone, Anthony Jennings maybe, see what those guys can do. Josh Bledsoe, I think, will get an opportunity in the secondary. So there are some young guys, not necessarily rookies. I'm looking forward to seeing the rookies too, but there are some young guys that haven't really established themselves in the NFL yet that are looking not only for, roster spots, but, if they can find a way to get even more than that, maybe a niche in the offense or the defense.
Yep.
I think that, speaking of the defense, Hardy, you mentioned that they've had a good camp so far. I'm wondering if they really are good, or are they just being in the spotlight right now because the offense is struggling. So I hope that tonight against the Giant starters, maybe we'll see okay, maybe they're that good, or maybe we'll just find out that they're working out some kinks too.
Well, what do you make of what Bill said? I think it was the last, maybe I forget what day it was, when he had the scrum right before practice, like 11:45 one morning, when he was asked about the
Tuesday probably.
the bad plays and the good plays, and he said, well, every good play something bad happens,
Right.
and every bad play, it's rare that
Right.
11 guys are
There
doing.
was a lot of coach speak in there.
There's a lot of coach speak, but is there something to that, to Tamara's point, where is the defense really that good, or is it a couple of guys on defense
Breakdowns.
making a good play and exploiting a breakdown on offense, and maybe, I don't know, 6 other guys on the defense? Actually, when Bill looks at it, and whoever is serving as the de facto defensive coordinator, they look at it and say, actually, on that play, we would have been torched. That is a blown assignment, and it looks great to everybody watching in practice, but in reality, it was you put any weight to that?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
And I think you also, I'm just like kind of over the last couple of years where the defense looks great in the beginning of the regular season, and then at the end of the season they can't close it out. So I think there's part of that going on too, where you feel like the last couple of years you've been lulled a little bit into a false sense of dominance, a false sense of that this defense is, better than they are at the end of the season. So, but I think it's a positive sign, guys like Barmore, making plays and being disruptive up front. Judon, hopefully he can kind of get back on track to how he started the season last year. So I think it's all valid, but, again, I don't think you're going to have your top line, so it's hard to really say, there's going to be some Patriots backup. So even if it doesn't look great today, you can still say, well, you had Josh Bledsoe, playing on the back end with Brendan Schooler, and, this is certainly not the actual defense going against Daniel Jones. So we'll see tonight how it comes together and who plays. I'm interested.
Tamara's guy, Jalen Elliott.
Jalen Elliott.
That's the Notre Dame one, right?
Yes, that's the Notre Dame one. I definitely think that
He'll be out there.
He'll be out there, especially with all the safeties out there on the field. It's like when it comes to those roster cuts, I think we're really going to hopefully see them separate tonight.
Yeah.
Before we get to our Behind the Enemy Lines guest, who will be joining us here in a couple of minutes, for all the of you who are joining us and wondering if we're going to be doing the same stuff on the show this year, yes, we'll have our six-pack and our over-unders. Marie Matt provided us with a packet of material here with, like, all the numbers listed for weeks 1 through 18 in terms of, like, the season standings and stuff.
This was from last year?
What?
Last year's season totals for week 1 through 18 of the six-pack and over-unders.
Now, were these the
Why do
correct?
I-
Are these the
Those
correct
are the
ones?
correct
or-
ones that we went
Okay.
through after.
Do we need to go over these now? Do we?
I don't
I
know.
didn't
There
know
was
if
a
you wanted to
typo
brag
in
or
your
not.
key, so I don't know.
Or not brag, Hardy.
Well, do I need these? Do I need to study up on what happened?
I think we do. I think it says here that at the end of week 18, Paul had the lead.
That's kind of all
at
I
58
need.
and 44. That's pretty impressive.
I'm just glad he didn't dig up the Patriots Unfiltered ones because
Let's see the six-pack.
Oh, who won the six-pack last year?
I think Hardy won the six-pack.
And where is?
Yes, 47 and 39, Hardy.
Yeah, where's
I
my?
was 45 and 41.
We had a bet. I was supposed to
I had
get a
the best
soda.
cume.
I was told I would get a soda from each of you.
Buy you a soda after the game, Ogie.
Yeah, I mean seriously.
I don't know. Yeah, we're on to 2022.
Thank you for all the prep material on last year's over-unders. And
If only I had faith that it was correct.
did you pull up?
Corrected me after every week.
Did you pull up confused crying sound
Check
effect?
your work.
Because if you did, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to come across as. It's confused.
Confused
crying.
whining.
Confused whining.
I love it.
I don't know what I'm doing with it. All right.
Having fun. We just have fun. We have fun.
We're mixing it up in here, huh? It's all about a good
So,
time.
the Brian Dable thing that Deuce mentioned earlier, I'm sorry to bring it back to the game.
Football. Ball. Talk ball.
I was trying to kill 90 seconds.
I know,
before the guest came on.
that's what I'm doing real quick.
Well,
Oh,
you
you know
can't
what?
now, he's on the phone.
We'll talk to Daryl and I'll
Did you think I didn't know what I was doing
I'll
over
table
here?
that because I want to get his impression of what Brian Dable said about everybody's going to play.
Thank you. Let's go behind enemy lines.
You know the view from New England,
We go behind enemy lines.
but what about the view from the other side?
And that's why you're our favorite pregame show guest every year.
You guys know you tell everybody that.
Oh, yeah?
I was on with you guys in 2018 Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
And I was told I was the favorite guest of the show.
Nope.
No.
Time now to go behind enemy lines.
I got it. It's coming right for us.
Oh, that's good. All right. Joining us now from New Jersey, Advanced Media, Daryl Slater. You can find him on Twitter at Daryl Slater. Daryl, you're on with Hardy, Mike Dussault, Tamara Brown, and Paul Perillo. What's going on?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here for what is going to be a rock'em sock'em, leave nothing in the locker room, all out on the field, preseason, game number 1 tonight. How much are you looking forward to this one?
Oh, it's going to be a thriller. Absolutely.
You can hear
Nailed
the
by
sarcasm.
Yeah.
So real quick, Daryl, I just before you came on, I was wondering. We saw that that comment that Brian Dable had made about everybody will play tonight, and I just was wondering your thoughts if he was being literal with that, or he just was trying to get everybody to understand that they should expect to suit up and play tonight. Do you think we'll see all of the frontline guys?
Yeah, he'll play his starters. I mean,
Okay.
He mentioned this the other day after practice. I mean, it was not a full half, but he's going to be playing his starters probably a max out of a quarter, perhaps a little less than that, especially now that the Patriots obviously are not going to be playing pretty much all of their starters. So, but he wants to get a look at these guys and get these guys some live reps in what, obviously is a new offense and a new defense for a lot of the returning players. So it's important in his eyes to get those reps.
Darryl, what have just kind of been the headlines coming out of training camp, and with Brian Daboll coming in and Joe Schoen, what have the changes kind of been, and any particular players that have been popping there early in camp for you guys?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been obviously this is a rebuild for this team. This is a team that is fully embracing a rebuild after a spending spree in 2021 with Dave Gettleman. They have gone into full rebuild mode. James Bradbury's gone, salary cap related move, and really the only question left for this team going forward for Joe Schoen is what's Daniel Jones' future going to be? Are they going to go forward with him after this year? He's in a contract year now. Obviously, they declined the option, so they need to get a full, final, and hopefully fair look at this kid in his fourth season. So that's obviously a big storyline for their offense. In terms of guys who have impressed, it's interesting. Darnay Holmes is their slot cornerback, a guy who started 9 games over his first 2 years. Never has really caught on, but has looked pretty good in camp. Their secondary has been kind of a question mark with Bradbury gone, their number one corner. They're going to have to play a lot of man coverage in Wink Martindale's defense, but Holmes has been a pretty nice surprise. Offensively, there are just so many question marks, whether it's the offensive line or Daniel Jones or Kadarius Toney. But they've gotten some encouraging performances from some down-the-roster guys. A guy, Colin Johnson, who people aren't really necessarily familiar with as a receiver, who you'll see a lot of tonight. He played well in camp, and he's done some good things. He's got a chance to make the roster, but they need obviously people other than Colin Johnson to impress. It starts with Daniel Jones, Kenny Galladay, the offensive line, and Kadarius Toney, and Saquon Barkley.
So you mentioned people down the roster. Of course, I have to ask this question because he's a Hokie. But Tyrod Taylor, how has he, looked with this team? Is there a chance that he could start over Daniel Jones if he beats him out?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned being a Hokie. I covered Tyrod Taylor in college when he oddly enough replaced Sean Glennon, who is the older brother of Mike Glennon, as the starting quarterback of Virginia Tech, and now he's taking over for Mike Glennon as the Giants' backup quarterback, which is kind of odd. But it's not an open quarterback competition this summer. It's Daniel Jones' job. The bottom line is Tyrod Taylor was brought in here with the Giants on a 2-year contract that is a true 2-year contract for a couple reasons. He's a good safety net if Daniel Jones gets hurt, and he's had some injury issues, Jones has. If they decide, like late in the season, to just give up on Jones, Tyrod Taylor gives them a competent quarterback, which was not the case with Mike Glennon. So those are a couple immediate things. As they look toward next year, if they do draft a quarterback, he's a good mentor for whoever they draft. If they are not in position to draft a quarterback in 2023, he could be Tyrod Taylor, a bridge starter. And so he serves a lot of purposes for this team. He's a guy who in camp so far, it's clear he's a great athlete. That can move great in the pocket. He throws a surprisingly excellent deep ball to people who haven't seen him a lot. And this guy's a tremendous athlete. And he's been in the league for quite a while. He's not a spring chicken anymore, but he's still a great athlete, and is certainly, I would say, one of the more competent backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Darryl, what can you tell us about Kayvon Thibodeau and how he's handled the first-round pick, how he's handled his first camp?
He's looked really good. The caveat here, of course, is that they haven't had a lot of practices in pads, and you can't hit the quarterback in camp. But he has looked really good in an aggressive blitzing defense. Obviously the question coming out of Oregon for him was, this is a guy who looked like he took some plays off. And the Giants said, look, it may have looked that way because he played against a lot of up-tempo offenses that were running 90 to 95 plays a game with no break between snaps, and that necessarily isn't always going to be the case in the NFL. So that was their assessment of him. And he's looked really good in camp so far. I think he's very quick. He's got a great burst. He's been better against the run than maybe perhaps they would have thought. But again, the caveat is, it's training camp. And so we'll see. But he certainly has the mindset and the personality. We all see that of a guy who wants to be great. So impressive so far. I mean, they need to have better edge rushing production, the Giants do, and he's a guy who gives them a chance to deliver that.
What's kind of the early impression of how Brian Daboll is kind of working with Daniel Jones and trying to bring that Buffalo Josh Allen kind of offense to the Giants? Is that seem like the installation might fit him potentially better? I mean, I don't want to bring up the Joe Judge offense, of course, but how is that working out so far with Daboll and what he likes to do with his quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope, that it's going to be more of a quarterback-friendly offense. And so with Jason Garrett, one of the things that the receivers now have said, of course, these guys are going to speak much more freely about what they didn't like about the previous offense than they did when they were in that offense, when the guy was still here. But they were talking about the rigidity of Jason Garrett's scheme, and this is something that Joe Judge mentioned when he fired Jason Garrett. Now, of course, Joe rubber stamped the hire, and this was, Joe essentially approved the approach. But one thing the receivers have mentioned, the Giants receivers have mentioned, is that there are more opportunities to freelance isn't the right word, but they have more routes that have kind of options within them, where the receiver can kind of read the defense and be able to tweak his route into one of two things, right? You can run what's called, or you can adjust to the built-in audible, if you will, as a receiver. And the receivers have really liked that. And obviously a lot of that depends on having open communication with your quarterback, knowing where the receiver is going to go. If it's not the predetermined thing, if it's going to be the other thing, you have to be on the same page. So the fluidity of Brian Daboll's offense is something that receivers have talked about liking more than Jason Garrett provided. So I think that's one thing where you see a lot of early optimism. We'll see how that plays out in games, but I think that's one reason. And now, look, I mean, they're going to have Mike Kafka almost certainly call the plays. But Brian Daboll's not going to. Mike Kafka's calling plays tonight. He has throughout training camp. So I would be surprised if Kafka did not call the plays come week one.
Well, I don't know what it's like to have any issue with the play
Imagine
caller.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine that. You know who's calling the plays.
No, are you kidding?
What a novel concept.
No, don't you worry about what's happening here with the Patriots, Daryl. We got that all figured out. Well, they're just not telling us. Hey, Daryl, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
There he goes, Daryl Slater.
Thank you, Daryl.
From New Jersey Advanced Media, at Daryl Slater on Twitter. So, I'm glad you asked the kind of overarching question there. What big stories coming out of Giants camp, because you get so focused in on what you're doing, and it's not until the regular season starts where you really. I feel like you have to pay attention. There's only so many things you have room for in your brain. And there's a lot of stories coming out of camp. There's a lot to follow here. And there's like, am I really expected to follow what's going on?
This is funny that you said this, because
NFC camps and everything else.
I just had
I don't know.
a wicked adrenaline rush as I was asking my question about Kayvon Thibodeau. Because all I was thinking was, I haven't read, looked, seen.
Yeah,
not
blew his knee out day one, Paul.
For all I know, he's been on PUP,
right,
and hasn't practiced yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead serious. And as I was saying the name Kayvon Thibodeau, I was like, oh God, please let me, please let him have been practicing.
You nailed it.
And then he was like, oh, he's been really impressed. Oh, thank God.
I was going to say, for Tamara and me, we go out before practice to talk to the crowd a little bit, get them loosened up a little bit. We hype them up. This is
the hype crowd, right?
We talk to the crowd before training camp practice.
Excuse me. Hold on one second.
He's going to say, right, can I just tell you what he's going to... Go ahead. Just go ahead. Get your stupid shot in. Go ahead. I won't ruin it.
It's not a shot. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's maybe I'm exaggerating in terms of
Sarge
the
hype.
But Sarge is the host, and Sarge threw the curveball. He's like, so... what have you guys been seeing going on at the other camps? And I think me and Tamara both were like,
I watched the Patriots.
Yeah, I know. I think someone from the Broncos got hurt. Like that was the best I could come up with. But.
So you guys stand in front of the bleachers and do a little back and forth on the wireless?
Like this. It's like the pregame. It's like the pre-practice show.
It's
only
a pre-practice
live.
chin wag.
Yeah.
That is in front of everybody at the bleachers?
Yeah.
And Mike grittied out onto the field and everything.
I did my gritty.
Everything.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. That's kind of terrifying. In fact, there's a couple thousand people out there.
Well,
You've seen
some
us-
days more
but
than
you've
others.
seen Mike and I do that up in the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's for a bunch of people who are half in the bag and they're not even really listening. There's people on the bleacher.
I think there's people half in the bag on the bleachers out there too,
9
which is
o'clock
another thing I brought up. Which I mean, they're full on selling beers out there. I'm like, who comes
It's
to
like
training
9:30 in
camp
the morning, and you
practice
got
and it's
you got
like,
a Bud Light at 9:30,
go.
pal. You got a problem.
Okay, I have a confession to make. I don't know how many years I've been coming to campus. I've never been down there.
Yeah.
I come in, I go up to the red level, I sit down and I work
You
for
don't go
4
down with
hours,
the-
and then
what
by
does
the
Paul
time
call
we're
them?
done,
See, no,
practice,
the unwashed.
I thought you were going to
practice
say.
is long over with.
I thought you were going to say, Paul, why don't they have you out there hyping the crowd?
I think it got termed hype the crowd up like day one because I was excited about it and I went out and tried to do like the how do we feel about Patriots training camp, thinking
And it
that
was-
these are my people that are going to be like the give me the Matthew
like-
Slater
This is
locker
what
room
he got.
breakdown, crickets, and I'm like
That was the
What?
round of applause you
so
got.
then it's less right. Then it's less of a hype and more of just like a gentle Q&A before
Just
practice.
to-
Yep.
What to look for?
To paint the entire picture, it was Mike and Eric last year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Eeyore.
Okay, I'm just.
I don't know.
I do envision a
I don't know,
conversation.
I guess,
Why are
guess
you
we'll
here?
watch camp.
I have no formal artistic training.
Yeah, I do have this picture in my mind now of around a conference table. All right, we need 2 people from Patriots.com, the most energetic, charismatic, good-looking, wouldn't hurt. Who do we put out there? Perilla? We're being serious now.
Oh, that was.
See, now you took it to
that
a
was
different
shot.
place.
Now Paul's hurt.
I will
Very, very hurt.
listen to me. I will make you feel so much better. And another time,
Oh.
You took
I-
tomorrow when I'm bailing you out?
No, I will tell you a story during a commercial break tomorrow about the worst experience I had in front of a crowd introducing. It was a band, and it was, next level horrific.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd.
yeah. Oh God, no, it was real bad. All right, I guess we can start taking calls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our show. Let's
Okay.
do it.
I mean, God
Same
knows that we
number?
can't take a break because we don't do that on this show.
No.
What's phone number? It's I forget.
855 Pat's 5. I don't know.
I'm intrigued here by Felger looks very, very worked up that Mac Jones isn't playing tonight, and I'm curious why he's so worked up about that.
If I were to get worked up in general about things that I don't really feel that strongly about, this would bug me.
Yeah.
Like if I was like Joe fan, I'd be sort of annoyed that he's not playing.
Just like
tonight.
not getting to see him play as a person.
No, he needs to play.
What?
He's entering his second year. He needs reps.
So we're gonna do all this. Wait, but please, we got a lot of time to fill.
Correct. We have another hour and a half.
Yeah, with minimal breaks, and when I say minimal, I mean
none.
by 0. But
Might have time to go potty.
it is the story of today's game. The reports are earlier in the week, and who knows? We may see Mac trot out there and play a series or two. You never really know until you know. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless it's an injury or something that's been told to us, but until the team says so, do we know for sure? That's number one. No. Do we know for sure Mac is not playing tonight?
No.
Okay, that's number one.
Multiple.
Number two, if he doesn't play, it is a huge story. And there are multiple reasons not to get angry and I don't think that's right. No, just from a football perspective and as somebody who follows the team and thinks, what would be best for the team, I think there's a lot to talk about there, which we will. But let's grab a couple of calls here. 855-PATS-500. We begin with Steve in New York. Please, let's start the season off right. Yes, no!
I'm here.
I knew it. I knew Marine Matt was messing with me. I could tell. I saw you reaching over and pressing a button.
Marine Matt just got me.
Oh, that was perfect.
He got me.
Marine Matt, touche.
Steve, you are there. What do you have for us?
Yeah, guys, I'm depressed, man. I'm freaking out that we're going to be an 0-15 team this year.
We're going to be so bad we're only going to play 15 out of the 17 games. I love it, Steve.
Cancel.
I love it, Steve.
Done. You see these reports, that they're changing the offense, which I have no opinion on. I don't know the, X's and O's. That's up to coach and
right.
stuff. But what I do know, what's a good idea and a bad idea, which is if you're going to change the system, which is fine, wouldn't you bring coaches in that know that system and can teach that system?
It's a fair point.
Like, am I crazy?
No.
No.
I mean, you're crazy for thinking they're going to go 0-15, but you're not crazy for wondering why, if you want to change an offensive system, you don't get someone who knows that offensive system. I think that's That's a first guess. That's not a second guess.
Like people are thinking like Bills is genius, but it feels like a really stupid move. And then tonight, I mean, I hope Matt goes out there, at least plays 1 to 2 series. Not like they don't have to show the new stuff, but just to get the rhythm with his receivers and just get back into that game mentality.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm a little disappointed, Steve. Sorry about that. That's why I'm a little disappointed that he's not playing. Well, if Mike Reese is correct, if the report is correct, because I don't really think the system has as much to do with the passing game as the running game. I think that the system is more offensive line and running oriented to me. With that, to me, the passing game, like, you have your receivers throw it and catch it, and they haven't been able to do that consistently.
Right.
And it's not just because of a lack of time to throw.
Yeah,
that's been an issue. There's no question. The defensive line, Tamara, I think you said that during your key about the offensive line. The defensive line has beaten the offensive line consistently in camp. So that has been a problem. Mac hasn't had enough time to throw, but there have been other times where the connections just aren't there. They're not on the same page. He's not seeing guys open. Guys aren't getting open, and he doesn't have time. Like, it's run the gamut of problems in the passing game, and that's why I think even if you played him for a series tonight, maybe played 8, 10, 12 plays, could that hurt?
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Could he get hurt, though? I mean, could you? I mean, is that something that
he's not playing because they're afraid he's getting hurt. Bill doesn't operate that way.
Yeah. I agree. I kind of hope that he does go out there and play like 1 or 2 series. Like, he doesn't have to play a whole half, but it would be nice to see if the offense does work. But I'm interested, though, if it works with Zappe / Hoyer or whoever plays, would that help everyone have hope that, okay, this new scheme does work?
Yeah. I mean, would you play him the whole game? Would you play him a whole preseason?
Who, Mac?
Yeah.
Like the whole game? No, I wouldn't play him the whole game. I would want to get him out there. I just think he's in his second year. He's not like a 9-year veteran who doesn't need time.
Yeah.
Plus, he's in a new system.
No, I would play him too, and I would put Zappe in because Zappe's. I think
Happy?
he's good. Zappe? What?
Happy?
No, I think Zappe's going to be your backy.
Hacky uppy?
Baby got Zappe?
If you actually need a backup quarterback, and again, there's nothing against Brian Hoyer. Spartan. Hey, if you can shout out your guys, I can shout out my guys, right? Spotty.
Great, more college football.
But is there
Terrier?
Crusader.
Yeah.
At least you still have a team.
Not a mascot, though.
No, oh, that's right. But the notion that you're going to go in with, Brian Hoyer as the backup again, it's like, okay, we've seen enough times in the NFL over the last couple of years, you need a suitable backup, especially if you have a team who has any kind of chance of it. There's I don't want to say it's likely, but there's a pretty good chance you're going to rely on your backup at some point during the season, maybe even for more than a game or two, and you got to have somebody in there. So I would get Zappe in there, and I'd give him plenty of reps, but an entire game, him and Hoyer, and any Hoyer snaps, I'm sorry, unless it is for instructional purposes only for everyone else to stand back and watch this guy run the offense, is... it's a borderline waste of time. It's a terrible thing to say, but I'm sorry it is.
I'm with you.
I'm not telling you I disagree with you. So please do not yell at me as you all want to do sometimes. But I believe that Brian Hoyer is the backup. Like he's the backup. If something happens to Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer is going to play.
But
I will say, to Hardy's point,
Brian Hoyer can't play.
That they do need a reliable backup because
I prefaced it by saying I'm not necessarily agreeing with it.
Do you think? Hold on, Tamara. Hold on 1 second. Can Brian Hoyer play the position of quarterback in today's NFL?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
But so I do think, to your point, that a reliable backup is needed, and hopefully Zappe is that, because the one thing that Mike and I did notice from other people's training camps that we haven't watched, but we've received the notifications, there's been so many injuries. Like, between, the first 2 weeks of camp, there were so many, prominent players that got hurt on multiple clubs. And so I'm wondering...
So you would say sit Mac for that reason?
No. I still want to see him go a little bit. But I do think that it would be nice to see, okay, Zappe, how he does out there as well.
Yeah, and I don't know with you, Hardy, though. Like, I feel bad being like, I just don't really care to see Hoyer. Like, I know what he is, even if he is the backup. Like, you want to see the young guys. I'd love to just watch Zappe the whole night tonight and just see what he's got.
I'll just turn, Bill's words against him. Football players play, and to paraphrase Al Pacino in Heat, you can get hurt walking your doggy.
Right,
there's all different ways.
I'm just going to say,
falling off a bike if you're Chris Sale.
I don't say a lot of things about sort of personnel decisions with any degree of certainty. A lot of it, I give strong opinions because I'm kind of an opinionated guy. But no, it's true. I also can be quite stubborn. That's another
breaking.
When's your birthday? Did we talk about this?
We did. Gemini.
Oh.
Yeah. Right.
We talked about it on the air.
We did.
Tamara, duality.
The twins.
Did you see the scoffing look she gave?
when-
When are you going to do your duties? I didn't like that look.
Wait, Hardy, when's your birthday?
Aries.
Yeah.
March 30th.
I don't know if I know anything about them. Now I'm gonna
April
look it
6th.
She's gonna
You
look
got
it
two
up.
of them here. Alpha dogs.
So I don't say a lot of those things
Mercurial.
with a degree of certainty, but what I am telling you with certainty is the reason Mac Jones isn't playing tonight, if he in fact doesn't play, is not because Bill's afraid he'll get hurt. I'm just telling you that with certainty.
He's not. It has nothing to do with Bill being afraid.
It's
that
not a
he's gonna get
fear
hurt.
of him being injured.
I agree with you. I agree. That'd be my opinion.
I can't tell you with certainty what the reason is, but I can tell you what it isn't. That one factor is not. That's not why he's not playing.
I have a feeling we're going to hear more about this from other callers, like I don't know, John in Duxbury. What do you have for us here on the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Dunkin? What's up, John?
Well, I want to know, Paul, why are they changing the blocking schemes when they have personnel that aren't athletic enough to execute it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think that's another reasonable point. Much like the last caller said about if you don't have the guys to teach it, if you don't necessarily have the personnel, I do think that's a process. If they want to make this change, maybe they couldn't get all their guys at once that were best suited for the scheme. But, on the flip side, I will say, one criticism is I do think Shaq Mason is very much suited for that kind of a scheme, and you opted to deal him. Well, but like Isaiah Wynn, I think, is a guy who this fits well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not the offensive lineman guru. I'm not Dante by any
Trent
stretch.
Brown,
but Trent Brown, maybe that's why they were so
Andrews.
intent on Trent Brown's weight.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a little smaller to be able to move like this. Cole Strange
fits
I think absolutely fits that kind of a system.
But I think the same question about Andrews too.
I do think there's
How about Owenu, though?
Yeah, Owenu, I don't
him.
necessarily, and not surprisingly, he's the guy who's been in and out of the lineup a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arlington Hambright, who we mentioned at the top, listen,
He's a real person.
that name is a mouthful, but get used to it because you're going to hear it a lot tonight, and you might even hear me talk about him on TV later. So stay tuned.
First time I heard Arlington Hambright, I'm like, has Bill gotten another lacrosse player to switch sports again?
Sounds like a Supreme Court
I
justice.
got a bad joke about it when they signed him, and Scal was probably the only person that could appreciate it. But like the demented thing that popped into my head was an animated movie about a pig who wants to go to Harvard, and that's the fake name he makes up to go to Harvard, Arlington Hambright. And they're like, you'll never go to. You're looking at me. That Arlington Hambright. That's not like a name a pig would make up if he was trying to be a human and go to Harvard. No, okay.
This is why Law and Order is better.
Okay.
The best show ever.
I thought you were going to
This
throw a
one.
Carlton Whitfield at me from Secret of My Success. At least something that has some tangible.
Hambright. Hambright. Yeah.
Wow.
Scal got it. See, this is what I miss Eric right now. He's the only one who gets my dumb humor. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Needed to be done. All right, let's go to Andre in Connecticut. Andre on the Patriots Pregame Show. What's going on, Andre? Yo, Dre. Hello?
I think he's there, but we just can't hear him.
Oh.
See, he's
Ooh.
trying. He's trying. Why don't you go to Cousin Patty?
All right, we'll go to Pat and Agawam. Andre, call us back if you can hear us. Call back. We'll try that. All right, yes, Cousin Patty for the first time this season or preseason. What's going on, dude?
Not too much. Just driving home, hoping I get home in time for for kickoff. But great to be back.
Fingers
great
crossed.
to have you back, Hardy.
2
Great
hours. Where are you?
Great to be on the pregame social. First things first, I just got to say regarding James White, much love and respect to him. The guy's been through a lot the last 2 years, and if I said this in a group text with like Kat and Christian and Melvin, but if there's one guy that he can walk into any bar and have his tab picked up, it's him. Just on Super Bowl 51 alone. Come on.
I agree with you except for one thing. I think of James White in uniform as a Patriot, and if you take a group of, 10 players from that era and ask them to be identified out of uniform on the street, I think you're going to have more problems with James White than other players. He just, it's part of his whole I think career as like unassuming. You know, he was here to play football. I didn't see him out and about a whole lot beyond football. He wasn't out promoting different brands and doing commercials and stuff. So I agree with you, Pat, in theory, but in actual practice, I bet James White is the type of guy who can kind of go about his business without being bothered all the time by fans, because it's like, wait a second, was that James White?
Yeah.
You might not even know.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think that's kind of accurate for a lot of football players in general. I think they're kind of anonymous because of the helmet and mask, but I think it's absolutely fair for James White. I just think he was a quiet guy who went about his business. So incredibly respected in the locker room, though, too.
Yeah.
You never heard anybody say anything bad. I'll tell you, one guy that I thought of was Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson talked about James White a lot last year and how much he helped him. That's the kind of, when guys like me, the snark attacks like me, and like, we got to have Devin McCourty back and Matthew Slater, we got to bring them all back. This is why Bill likes those guys.
Yeah.
Like the James Whites helped the Ramondre Stevensons. The Devin McCourtys helped the Kyle Duggars. That's the way it works. And, so I do recognize the snark of when I say, like, can we just move on and go to – you can't have all young guys.
But I would know Matthew Slater anywhere. I would know Devin McCourty anywhere. It's just something about the first.
Yeah,
it's
you're
like,
right.
It's like David
You're
Andrews.
Right. Those two guys.
The first time I saw David Andrews was when we were doing an event over at Six String. I didn't even know it was him. He just looked like a bunch of other dudes who were hanging around Six String that night.
Come on,
he could have been the act that night.
Speaking of which, we were up on the stage.
He doesn't
the other
present
day.
himself as an NFL offensive lineman. It's not like this mountain of a man walking. It's like there's another guy.
Yesterday, this trio right here was ripping it up on Six String stage.
We were right on the stage.
Grill,
shooting our show.
Grill and stage.
TV stars too.
You guys are bona fide personalities.
Bona fide.
Each and every one of them.
Yeah.
And I take back what I said, Paul, especially since I did notice you're growing your hair out a little bit this season,
I just
and I
need
like
a
it.
haircut.
Well, I wouldn't get it cut.
I didn't get a TV cut. I should have.
Oh, Pat, you're still
My
there.
guy's going to yell at me tomorrow.
I'm still here.
Yeah, was there anything else? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to look out for tonight. One of the things, obviously, is just to see if they do try and run the zone blocking attack, and just to see what that looks like. A couple other things, just want to see some of these young defensive players. Like, I know it's preseason, but I just want to see how they react. Guys like Jennings and Ronnie Perkins and Cameron McGrone. See how they play. See if they swarm to the ball, or if they're just like, if their brain's in a blender out there. And I'm excited to see what Zappy can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to like Jawan Bentley. I remember him making like a big play. I think in his rookie year, like first game. It's just certain guys. The lights come on, they make plays. And again, like to echo the point, I feel like I'm making all offseason. They need new playmakers. They need guys who just are gamers and make plays on the ball, can get after the quarterback. So I think just anybody who pops and makes a play early in this game, it'll be encouraging, and maybe it'll propel them onto more significant snaps going forward.
When you said lights come on and make plays, I thought about Kendrick Bourne immediately. Like, just because we've been so silent during camp.
Yeah, he has.
Once we finally get to see him,
he
on
has.
the
But I
field.
mean,
I heard so. And Pat, thanks for the call, buddy. We'll be hearing from you, right?
Got it.
Okay. All right. I hope you make it home in the next hour and 45 minutes.
I was like, where's he driving?
Where are you, Beirut?
You work in Montreal? What's going on? About the Kendrick Bourne thing, someone mentioned that earlier today. It's like, okay, been a little quiet. Is that his fault? The quietness from Kendrick Bourne so far in this camp? Or is it a function of...
I mean, there's 7 different things you're trying to figure out what's going on right now. So it's like, why isn't he getting the ball? That's like 25th on the list of, is Mac not seeing him? Is he not getting open? I mean, does Mac have the time? But I would just say generally, he's the only one of those kind of top 5 receivers that I haven't walked out of a practice and been like, nice day for him. Nice day for him. He popped. I mean, I think Jacoby Myers has had a couple where, he just was consistent. We know what, Thornton's been doing. The contested catches kind of early on. I mean, it's been kind of a little bit up and down, I think, with Parker. But he still had his moments with the contested catches. And even Aguilar, I mean, I think he's been, especially in the one-on-ones, I mean, I know you can't take a lot from that, but he can shake guys. And he's had some good practices. Bourne's the only one that the only time you've really seen him was kind of in the in-stadium practice, which was a glorified walkthrough.
All right, let's go to John in Los Angeles. John on Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin. Hi, John.
Hardy.
Yes.
I'm always glad you're back.
Oh, thank you, John.
Love it. I'm very excited about the kickoff tonight and watching car wash people play football.
Hey.
I wanted to ask why you think it is that people who like Paul Perillo are able to see, and I know, Paul, you don't claim to be right every single time, but you're able to see in the first practice or two of N'Keal Harry that, that's a problem. That's not going to work. And we could see in relatively few practices that Tyquan Thornton, maybe there's something there. I don't understand why when you bring a guy in for a workout, and you separate from studying tape because it's all a crapshoot, but bring a guy into a workout, isn't there some kind of workout you can do that kind of replicates a training camp session where Paul Perillo can say, that guy sucks? There's no, I know it's more complicated.
I think I get the question.
It's way more
I think it's
complicated
a good one.
than that because I can tell you that there's a lot of first of all, I would never be able to do that for like a non-skilled position guy. Like you can watch a wide receiver and say, oh, he moves really well, which you could see with I thought Parker was moving pretty well in the spring, and as a guy who's not necessarily known as a burner, he's more a possession, body, high point, catch radius kind of a receiver. But, am I going to be able to tell you, that offensive lineman, he can't do it? No, I wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, these guys are trained football coaches and scouts, and they understand. I wouldn't be able to do that for very many guys.
No, but
I just think N'Keal Harry could not get open, and it was apparent the day he walked on the field.
But I like the question, John, because I think when he walks onto the field, you look at him, and N'Keal Harry looks like a first-round pick. I mean, he is just an absolute Adonis in terms of his build. But I think it was the little things that you immediately start to notice. It was, going up in a drill, coming down hard, and flexing his elbow. He's got to run over to the trainer. He left practice early. He's limited the next day. It was those kind of things, I think, out of the gate that you started to ping your radar. And a guy like Thornton, he's just been consistent. He goes out there, he catches the ball when it's thrown to him. There's no real histrionics. He's just, and that is, I know, and it's hard to avoid injuries and that kind of thing, but it's just day after day.
And I'm going to be fair about him too. So I did that about Harry, and you're telling me that I was right about Harry. My first impression of Thornton in the spring was not a good one. He looked kind of lost. Now in training camp, I think he looks like he's getting better every single day. But if you would ask me, gun to my head, point blank, on May 25th about Thornton, I would have said, doesn't look like he has it.
And honestly,
he does look like he has it.
Jacoby mentioned that in his press conference, I think last week. He mentioned that when Thornton first got here, it was a little.
Yeah, I think even Thornton said it too. He was, they were a little over their head when they first got here.
And now he's improved a lot.
He looked like that. He looked like a guy who wasn't really fluid because he was thinking, and maybe that's all it was.
And
once he got kind of comfortable in his environment, and now his athleticism takes over because he has that in space. I mean, he's ridiculously fast.
So, John, in answer to your question, no, Paul does not have a drill that can replicate that.
I wish I did.
The secret sauce. You could make $1 million. I'll stay in the City of Angels, talk to Christian. What's going on?
Hey, you guys. It's football time, so I have a smile on my face from ear to ear, and here we go. One, I want to honor James White and just say, over the years, he's given us some of the most incredibly just dynamic Patriot plays that have left us all in awe and at the same time been unassuming, sort of like a Barry Sanders type of presence with his grace. As far as football goes, I'm really interested in who's going to fill that role. Do you guys see more of that being Ramondre Stevens at first and then Pierre Strong in there? Or who do you guys see filling in that role up top, and might we see any of that tonight?
All right, Christian, first of all, let's not invoke the greatest running back of all time. We're talking about as good as James White and as great as James White was, and Barry Sanders.
Oh, I missed that part.
The Lions?
James White was a really good pass-catching back.
James, here's what I love about James White. Two things. Number one, Paul Perillo always told me, and I believe most things when it comes to football that Paul says.
Why do I know this is going to be a shot?
It's not a shot at all. You said you always spoke about him and his game with such reverence, and the more I thought about it, the streak with no fumbles and the number of big plays in games. You can point to the Super Bowl against Atlanta alone and say that's the James White game, and between him and Brady, that's what is responsible for the greatest comeback and, you know, in my opinion, the greatest Super Bowl game of all time, and that's James White. There's plenty of those moments.
Yeah, he's one of those Patriots that, you know, maybe it wasn't an overarching all these stats, all this kind of thing, but he's just a quiet guy who did his job, and when it came down to some of the big moments, he was there to make, you know, those big plays. And it was just, you know, he's a niche guy. It's a specific thing he did, but it was important, and he did it well.
And by the way, the quiet thing, I don't necessarily chalk up as an attribute or anything. I think it speaks to who he was and the guy who let his play speak for itself. And other guys do both, and that's fine. You know, I really don't have an issue either way, but when you're describing him and you know what he meant to the team and the time that he was here. But the thing that I love going back to is Brady's last year when I, you know, bothered you two endlessly.
Correctly.
About the fact that, hey, if you want to win a game, it's a combination.
The ratio.
It's a combination of 13 either carries or receptions.
Sparked one of the great Paul/Hardy fights ever.
And was I right for the entire season?
I'm just going to say yes because I don't know if I'm revisiting.
And I don't even remember you fighting back because it was so obviously true.
Because it was a typical Paul-Fred fight where we were both arguing the same thing and just kept arguing.
And then like, why don't you get in on this? I'm like, you're saying the same thing.
But Brady's final season, the games that they won were games where he incorporated and they used James White in the offense.
Was a really important part, even if he wasn't tremendously productive all the time. But having the threat of him, I do think was a big part of it. And they missed that last year, even though Brandon Bolden had a nice season in his place. And to answer the question, I think it was Christian.
Yeah.
Ty Montgomery is the answer. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to take a lot of those roles. And I think what the Patriots feel, and this remains to be seen, we'll have to see how it plays out. I think the Patriots feel they might have something, a dynamic with Montgomery that they didn't with White, in that when he's on the field, it's not necessarily dictating what you do.
Yep.
Because I think he can be used more as like a strict runner.
Right, and he's had, from Green Bay, has experience in the wide zone kind of system. So some of the runs we've seen in training camp have looked good with Montgomery getting the edge.
I want to talk to you guys more about this in terms of a James White role in this new offense. You explain it to me, if you could, please. Don't speak to me like I'm a 4-year-old. Just speak to me like I'm Hardy, and that'll suffice. Well, I need that type of explanation.
No, it's just
when we're going to break down this offense a little bit.
We're going to say goodbye to TB.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know if you know those are her initials.
She's on.
Just like Tom Brady.
Don calls me TB1.
See?
Oh.
TB1.
Is there
the original TB?
Is there any significance to 12 in your life, like for a birthday or a number? There's you can't think of. You should come up with something, and then just go by TB12.
You should work on that.
Yeah, just come up.
I'll work on it.
For some reason, my 12 is an important number for
I'll
you.
work on it. I'll have something together by
it's
next
my
pregame
high school
show.
number.
Next week.
Good QB number.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks,
I gotta
guys.
run.
Thanks. Yes,
well, to answer your question, I mean, it's a third down. It's a guy who can. I'm sorry, was I supposed to save this?
Yeah,
for a certain point?
Yes, we have to.
Sorry.
We have to break.
Ah,
we have to break. Okay.
Deuce.
All right. So
it's preseason for us too.
You want me to talk about Dunkin before
Especially
we break? All right. Hey there, Patriots fans. When you're, I'm not reading this. When you're coming in hot, put it on iced. I love iced coffee from Dunkin. This is my second one today. It's the best. They got the new brown sugar cream cold brew or mango pineapple Dunkin' refreshers, which my kids love. New England Patriots run on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Olympia Sports, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including 6 String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar, watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix eSports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Johnny, you funny. Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Same thing with your saltwater tap. And here, let me do everybody a favor. That's where that goes. What are we doing?
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
All right, so Deuce was getting ready to school me on this newfangled Patriots offense they're running.
Oh, wait, was I?
Isn't that what you were jumping the gun on here a minute ago?
I got you. You distracted me. No,
okay, so
well, I think the role is. I mean, and I think it's a good question. I think there's.
Can I ask the question again, please?
Please state the question. Please state your
Holy
question
crap.
in the form of a question.
Doesn't he do radio every day with you guys? Don't you do a Patriots.com thing like every day?
Yeah, but usually I dominate the conversation.
I know, but it's like, just, reset, set up. Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Dunkin, Hardy, Deuce, Perillo, come on and let's do a show. Okay?
I mean, in Deuce's defense, we're not used
Am
to
I
having
being a
the host.
jerk?
You're right.
Am I being
Don't
a
like you talking about world's original podcast like that.
I know. The world's original.
You know that, right?
The first one.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Play it for him, Matt. No.
Confirmed. Confirmed.
What?
They talked about it on NPR.
Yeah.
Talked about what?
We were the first podcast.
The Patriots.
Me and Fred.
Patriots.com was the world's first podcast?
It's one of the first.
We'll have Matt cue that up after you tee up Deuce with this riveting question for the preseason football.
Okay.
Why not?
It's not a riveting question, but it's a discussion point. And if you have other discussion points, feel free, slide on over.
Well, I was making fun of him for jumping. You asked a tremendous question.
God dang it.
I think we're all on edge.
I'm not on edge at all.
It's warm in here.
It
It is warm in here.
Okay, is that part of it? That's part of it. Here's my
ginger ale
question.
has no fizz. Go ahead, Deuce.
I was in let him state your question.
Newfangled offense. We keep talking the new offense, the new install. And then I'm with Ted Johnson last week. So there's Shanahan offense and this new offense. I said, okay, I think a lot of people either pretend to understand what you're talking about or don't understand it all and they don't want to admit it. And there are a few people who get it, especially when it's, Ted and Zoe getting deep on the X's and O's. But seriously, I know a little, but like most things in life, just enough to be dangerous, right? So I really want to know, when it comes to specifics, say with a pass-catching running back, how does that gel with this new offense that they're working on and installing this training camp season for the Patriots?
Well, I think it's a good question because this is,
good question.
The base of the Shanahan offense is really just, kind of making the defense move to the side and getting offensive linemen moving to the side. So that part of it doesn't really play into having a receiving back. So the Patriots have been so specialized, and I would say if there was one kind of knock to the James White version of the offense was that it wasn't as threatening against the run as it was when he came in. You kind of knew probably going to be a pass or a screen, of some sort. They're going to throw the ball. So I think it's a good question as, are they going to stay that way and use Montgomery? Because I think Paul made a good point that Montgomery can run a little bit in this system, and he knows it, and we've seen him doing that. I don't think White would be as much of a threat to kind of, get the edge and really have to, stretch those runs to the side. So it's a good question. I don't know if they're going to stay as specialized. I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be much more balanced. But, it depends on what version of this kind of offense you're talking. The base is just this run, this simple run, trying to get your offensive move, get the defense moving side to side, open creases, and gash them. That's the basis of it. And everybody else just builds off of that.
And there are other tenets to this offense, to my understanding. One of them are mirrored run and pass plays where you don't know.
Sure.
And again, to your point, it's like if James White's coming in the game, you pretty much what's going to happen. You're based on personnel. You used to be able to tell what was coming, and you just relied on the execution and Tom Brady and Julian Edelman to execute it, even if the defense knew what was coming. So but this is a way to keep them guessing longer.
Yeah, I think it's
fair?
like any offense though, where
Okay.
you have your base kind of runs, and then you start to run those, and then you build off of it. Then as the Patriots have always done, give similar looks, maybe with different personnel in different places, and then you start the trickeration. So I think like a lot of this, and I think Paul kind of hit on it a little bit, is like it's not that crazy what we're seeing out there. Have they done a bunch of wide zone runs? Sure. But other than that, the passing game is, it's not like any of us can sit up here and tell you what the difference are in the passing game.
The receiver
you
pass
watch
the
the
ball
wide
to him.
zones, and that's what they are. And they didn't really do those in that capacity, with no fullback and all that kind of stuff. It is
think what they
different, but
want to do, and I always preface this, I don't pretend to be an offensive guru. I leave that to guys that are much smarter than me, trying to break down the X's and O's of what they're doing, okay? I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And what I feel like is happening is they're changing the way they want to run the ball, the way Mike just described. And if they can do that effectively off of that, I think, and we've seen, who, not a great quarterback, but a guy who was great off of this particular play was Jake Plummer when he was on Denver with Mike Shanahan, which started all of this.
Yep.
Just that sort of wide gap. I'm gonna run out here and fake the handoff. Everybody's, it's a stretch play, and he's going to hand it to Clinton Portis or some, Terrell, whatever the back was at the time. I'm going to pull it out. It's going to be a half boot the other way, and I'm looking to make a play, a chunk play. And I think the biggest thing missing from the Patriots offense last year was the lack of chunk plays. They couldn't get the ball down the field.
I agree.
Yep.
And I think this is a way they feel they can dial it up, because I don't know if they think they have the personnel to just sit there and say, we're going to start getting downfield. We're going to go Jamar Chase, and we're going to get the ball. Ooh, excuse me. Wow. I never do that, and I drink a lot of Pepsi, and I never do that. My apologies.
Maybe your body is telling you something.
Stop drinking Pepsi and eating donuts. But I think that they might feel like they don't have the personnel necessarily to consistently just drop back and get the ball down the field all the time. So if we can, do a couple of things to maybe, slip a tight end deep. We saw Jonnu Smith. We saw Trey Nixon in the spring on plays like that a handful of times. Can that be Nelson Aguilar or Kendrick Bourne? Or Devontae Parker, getting down the field, those little, kind of those drag routes where you're getting up, you're coming across all the way across the field. Those plays take time to develop. And right now, they haven't had that kind of time in training camp. That's why I don't think we've seen any of it.
One more thing, just to touch on the scheme a little bit. Everyone says Shanahan. It's really, now, if you really go back, and it's this guy, Alex Gibbs, who was credited with bringing it to the NFL. Now, the guy who actually brought it to college, though, was Kirk Ferentz. And so he went to Iowa and then employed, as the rules in the NFL changed in Pittsburgh in the early 70s, they started going with these lighter offensive linemen. So Kirk Ferentz is one of the grandfathers of this system. And I think Paul will remember he was here the first couple weeks of camp.
Matter of fact, your station, Hardy, has shown a lot of B-roll today of practice shots, and one of the shots they keep showing is Bill next to Kirk Ferentz.
So, when Bill was in Cleveland, he went to Iowa and got Kirk Ferentz and brought him to be the offensive line coach there. So I think there's a lot of connections between Belichick and this system that's not just like the Shanahan, which I was like, why? This doesn't seem like Belichick, that all of a sudden he's going to say, let's go steal this from him. I think the roots of this whole thing are much deeper than that, and he has some connections to it that I don't think everybody really is realizing at this point.
I have more questions on this with regard to the offensive line, but that can wait until we get to some of our calls here. Like, say, for instance, from Jacob, who's been waiting patiently in Rochester. Jacob, what's going on? You're on the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin. What's up, man? Jacob. I don't hear Jacob. Jacob, if you're still out there, you can give us a call back. Instead, we'll go to Dick, who's in Connecticut. What's going on?
Hey, guys, thank you. You're making my game experience better. I want to looking at your runners rolling story, and I'm a season ticket holder. I drive up to games. Are we thinking this is going to be a running offense, or are we, hoping the defense helps out?
Well, I think they're going to hope the defense holds up until they can figure out what type of offense this is going to be, Dick.
I think they're going to run the ball.
I think they're going to run the ball, and then they're going to try to take deep shots off the run, and that's going to be the foundation. It's not going to be spread them out and try to pick them apart. It's going to be try to find which one of these backs really clicks with the wide zone and just start building off of that. And that'll be the early foundation, but slowly as the season progresses, they'll build more and more stuff. We've already seen, some of Mac rolling out, that kind of stuff, but this will be the foundation.
At the risk of sounding like I'm living in the past here, how big were the chunk plays and how big of a part of the offense was it for the Patriots when Tom Brady was here?
Oh, it was not. It was not.
What, the run game just generally, you mean? Or?
No, the chunk plays.
The chunk plays.
How big were the chunk plays? I don't think that was ever a big part of Tom Brady's
cuts.
But the difference is there's only one Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Do you know what Bill Belichick's theory on defense always was for years and years and years? We're going to keep the ball in front of us. We're going to make them, settle for 6-yard completions, 8-yard completions. We're going to tackle well. We're going to keep the ball in front. GTFB defense, and make sure we don't give up any big plays. And we're going to make the other team execute. If they're going to score a touchdown, it's going to be 10, 12, 14 plays. And more often than not, if you do that, you're going to get a holding call. You're going to get someone to drop a pass. Or someone's going to misfire on a pass that was an easy completion, something like that.
Might get a fumble as they get tired and the drive goes on.
Maybe you get pressure on a key third down, you get off the field, you hold them to a field goal. That was the way the Patriots played defense for a lot of years. But you know what the difference is?
Don't break.
Don't break.
When you do that to Tom Brady, he doesn't break.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to make him go 14, 15, 16 plays,
okay,
he does.
Yeah, he wants to be out there longer.
So they can do what Mike is talking about. They can spread it out. And,
Gotcha.
like last year, I think he was like one of the lowest ranked quarterbacks in the league in terms of like air yards per pass attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Brady.
Yes. No, I'm just double checking.
The
but
GOAT.
But that is the
GOAT. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was too. Actually,
that is the explanation. The chunk plays were never an issue because the Patriots, with Tom Brady leading the offense, had no problem going 12, 13, 14
right. Well,
plays
but I mean,
down the field.
to be fair, I mean, you had the Moss years. You had Paul's guy Brandon Cooks. I mean, there were certainly players that were able to stretch the field and get the ball, with some of those chunk plays. But I also think it's part of the league now where it's just. You can't do that anymore. I think defenses are too good. You need to have some kind of explosiveness to your offense, and
the defenses
it's too hard to do it.
are too good up front, but the corners are also have their hands tied a little bit by the way the game is being played now, and you've got a better chance of completing some of those chunk plays.
We're an hour and 9 minutes in. I got an argument coming.
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
So I agree with what Mike just said, only for a completely opposite reason. You said you can't do that anymore. You have to get some chunk plays because the defenses are too good. I think it's because the offenses are too good.
That too, yeah.
Like, I think you can if you have Tom Brady, you can still do the 10, 12, 14 play drives. When Aaron Rodgers and guys like that can consistently do that. But I think nowadays you have to find a way to score points because I don't care how good your defense is.
Yeah.
Do you know what the worst offense in football averages? Like 16 points a game.
I was going to say it's
15, 16 points a game.
I was going to guess 17 or as high as 20, but yeah, that sounds
That's the
about
worst that you're going to be. So you need to
it's
get
not 10.
Like what was the stat last year? The Patriots were winless in games where the other team scored more than 20.
I don't know.
2? 20, something like that.
22, 23.
Sounds right.
I forget exactly what the number was, but they could. Once you got beyond a certain score, the Patriots couldn't keep up with you. That's how you. And I think in order to keep up, you got to find a way to get some chunk plays. So I agree with Mike's premise.
No,
I don't agree with the reason.
I think to be honest, I think you're more right. I mean, I think that's probably more of what it is keeping
so
pace.
Much,
is keeping
so much
pace.
for an argument.
So much for the argument.
Yeah. Sorry. Because to your point, it is harder for defenses
I don't think
to play.
Well, that's just it. I think you're both wrong. I think the game is called against the defense.
Oh,
now.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think the offenses are too good, and you have to find a way to keep up.
It's not even that they're too good indicates that they've gotten much better over the years. No.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The game is called for offense.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. You're not giving the credit for the offenses for being more skilled.
No.
But they're just more productive because everything is geared to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Look, this is really unfortunate. That's twice I thought I had an argument, and both times I agreed with you guys.
William in Philadelphia. What's up, William?
Hey, what's going on?
Good to hear from you. What do you got for us?
Okay, 2 questions. So I would like to see the offense this season just carry the team, like carry the defense. You know, there were seasons and times where the defense, carried the offense. So I'd like to see the offense do it this time. It would be nice. You know what I mean? To see a score. You know what I mean?
Oh, I just think you have to some extent in this NFL. Like, it's hard to imagine a team being defensively carried.
William,
it's hard to imagine that. And then, obviously the best teams and Brady's teams did this all the time. They could beat you 13-7, and they could beat you, 41-38.
And William, I'm with you. Just from a fan perspective, from someone who just watches the games, they're more fun. It's more fun. It's more fun to watch an offense carry the team, and it might put you on the edge of your seat if your defense is routinely giving up 23 points a game. But if you're going to outscore them by 4 or 7 or whatever, okay, that's a more exciting and compelling game to watch. What else, William?
Okay, and also, this is for Paul though. So Paul, what do you think about? Well, actually, it's for all of you. I don't even care at this point. What do you think about Roquan Smith, the linebacker from the Bears?
I think he's terrific.
That's asking for a trade.
Yeah, I think he's a terrific player.
Do you remember when Bill was down at a pro day and was Bradley Chubb and Roquan Smith, and he was showing them some type of move or whatever as far as what to do? Do you think Bill might have interest in him?
Oh, I think every team in the league would have interest in Roquan Smith. I think he's a terrific player. Absolutely.
Right.
All right. William, appreciate the call. Thanks, man. All right, take care.
Yeah. Now, if you're asking me, do I think the Patriots will win that battle? If he ends up getting traded, I can't see that. The only way I could see the Patriots doing it is if Smith has backed the Bears. I don't know if you guys have seen this story.
Yeah.
Like Roquan Smith's really good, inside linebacker for just an all-around linebacker. He's one of those three-down guys that does a lot of things, sideline to sideline. He's demanding a trade from Chicago.
Right.
So
I saw it.
Yeah.
That is,
I meant more
trade
for
me
like
right
the
now.
listeners in case they don't know what we're talking about. When you do that, you sometimes you put your team in a bad spot because now they've lost all their leverage. And like Roquan Smith to me is worth at minimum a first-round pick. But does Chicago look at it and say, well, the whole league knows that we have to trade him now?
Right.
Because he's not going to play for us, and I got to get rid of him, and now maybe someone gets him for less. If that happens, and maybe they can make a trade and they don't have to give him the contract right away, then I think they would still have to clear cap space for him.
Yeah.
As is now, because he's still he's a really good player. I
he
really
fits
like,
that mold that we get enamored with, and I mean, right now it seems like they're going to give it a go with Mac Wilson and Raekwon McMillan in that kind of role, but. I mean, he's an outstanding modern-day linebacker that can run all over the place.
I want to get to some emails here. The first thing I have to touch on here is from James Pettigrew, who says, the best Deuce entrance at training camp is appearing from the side of the ice freezer in his blue poncho, then disappearing Homer Simpson style. And he said he saw it live on NFL Network.
That's a good one.
Yeah?
Did you ever see that?
I have not seen it.
No, it was.
You probably have that.
It happened last year. I'd probably dig it up for you. I was coming down to the studio, and the NFL Network was filming Bill and Willie McGinnis.
Willie McGinnis was doing one-on-one with Bill, like right over there.
Right over there. So I came around the corner. And, you just see me, stop, and then I did the old, like you said, the Homer Simpson, slowly just back out of the way. But, yeah, I almost ruined the shot. But thank you for bringing that up, James. I appreciate it.
From David, I can't wrap my head around a terrible defensive coordinator and a head coach now being the offensive play caller. Whoa, easy. Were there any better options this offseason? Was there anyone on staff already? I don't get it. This is David in Maine. So, how about this? How about we make this a little more diplomatic? You've got a guy who was a former DC and a head coach who had issues in Detroit now be the offensive play caller and
the offensive line coach, which I don't think you can sweep because he's running across the field the whole time. And it's
sweep. To me, that's the story.
If
that
Patricia
is
the offensive coordinator, Billy Yates is really the offensive line coach.
Okay,
right?
But is anyone saying that Patricia is the offensive coordinator, or is he just
I
calling
think after tonight they'll de facto probably. I mean, because it'll probably be he'll have the headset on. He'll probably be calling the plays, and then this will kind of be what it is now.
But this is
I honestly have no idea what to expect tonight.
Okay,
Deuce's scenario sounds good to me.
And when we were talking about who's getting the looky-loo tonight, we were talking about this last week, long before we found out that maybe there won't be any starters playing tonight, or very few starters playing tonight. Most people were going to be watching the sidelines anyway to see who's calling the plays and see what the dynamic is like. Is Bill coming over to his play caller? And, you go back and watch, hours of film over the years, the number of times that Bill approached Josh McDaniels on the sideline while the offense was on the field, you could probably count on one hand, short of a playoff game. It's just those things kind of operated independently. Will it be happening tonight if Patricia's calling the plays? Will Bill be sidling up next to him? I don't know.
That will be interesting, because I wonder if, obviously Bill didn't need to go to Josh a lot, with all the experience that Josh had, certainly the second go-around. But I do wonder if Bill just said to Josh, like on the headset or whatever, even though they're both on the sideline, or, you walk over and let's run it here.
Yeah,
all right?
sure.
Let's run it here.
Sure.
And if we see a difference with that tonight, like Hardy says, do you see Bill go over to Joe Judge or go over to Matt Patricia? Or when Brian Hoyer and Bailey Zappi come off the field, is it Bill that's going over to the quarterback saying, what did you see there?
I mean, I don't mean this to say.
I have no idea.
No, and I don't either. And kind of in retrospect now, and I'm not saying this as if like this was the only thing they could do, but like what should they have done? What should they have brought in Adam Gase? I mean, I don't think that they could have just hired somebody to run Josh's offense. Should they just brought in Adam Gase and let him kind of?
I think
be
especially if they were
mentor?
going to do this change to the offense, they should have brought in an offensive coordinator that had some background with that. Yes.
Yeah, like snag a quarterback coach from like the Rams or the 49ers or something like that.
Yeah, and someone like at the very least, if you wanted to go with Matt Patricia and or Joe Judge, at the very least they should have hired like an offensive line coach.
That's my point, Paul. That's the that's the point I brought up a couple of days ago. And nothing against offensive line guys and guys who watch the Greg Bedard, whatever. Yeah, I defer to you on all matters. But how many people out there right now in the college or pro levels have the requisite skills to come in here and help coach your offensive line? There's got to be 50 guys that could come in and do that
staff,
job.
Like, it's.
That would jump at the chance for that job with the Patriots.
I always think it was overrated because the Patriots always had a lot of coaches that didn't. The title thing for Bill is nothing new. There's always been a lot of guys around the coaching staff that haven't had like every team used to have like an offensive quality control coach, a defensive quality control coach. We never called it that. The Patriots have never done that. But there's been guys that have done it. They just didn't have a title. And I can remember names from like 100 years ago, guys like Ned Burke and guys that never had a title on the staff, but they were here. So like I think the size of the staff, everybody always, like Fred used to say, like, no, they have the smallest staff in the league because they don't need all that, And I was like, they have the same amount of coaches every other team has, but they just don't have. There's like 5 of them that don't have a. Well, now
they're just coaching assistants.
Now all those guys have titles. Like Vangelo Bentley and Ross Douglas and these guys have come in. Vinny Sinceri, like these guys have all come in as coaching assistants now. In a lot of cases, they've moved up. I think Ross Douglas is the wide receivers coach now, right? Yeah. I get that one right? Vinny Sinceri works with the running backs, right?
Yeah, with Troy.
These guys were like coaching assistant like last year.
Yeah, and to your point, Hardy, like I just feel like it's so hard for Matt Patricia to be successful this year. Like it's going to be so easy to put all the blame on Matt Patricia, whether it's the blocking, whether it's Mac, whether it's the play calling. I mean, how many times we have people call in here being like, the play calling. I mean, everybody's an expert on play calling, but just like unless like the whole thing looks amazing and they're a top 10 offense, people are going to be coming for Matt Patricia. And and I partly blame Bill for like putting him in that position. It's like, it's
he
impossible
had a target on him since the day they brought him back.
He has to be perfect this year.
Because
I agree with you, Deuce.
Yeah, because of what happened in Detroit. And now that he's back, to make him the offensive line coach and to have him calling the plays. I'm not saying you had to bring in somebody who was going to be the next Dante Scarnecchia, but get some kid from the mining school that you seem to love so much, who seems to know offensive line. Get him out and give him the title, so you don't have so Patricia doesn't have double bullseyes on him.
Right,
now.
and I mean you've
brutal.
gone from Scarnecchia, of course, a legend. Then it was Popovich. And the other coach last year who left, and so it's kept turning over. Lost him then to the Raiders with Carm Brasillo. So I mean, there's been so much turnover in 4 years, and and maybe they love Billy Yates, and maybe they feel like Billy Yates just needs a little bit of help, but I don't know. I think it's a really, really tough spot for Matt Patricia this year to, one way or the other. I feel like people are going to be coming for him if it doesn't all work perfectly, which of course it's not going to.
Let's go to Greg in California. Greg, you're on the Patriots pregame social fueled by Dunkin. What's up, Greg?
Hey, guys. I've been noticing that since the offense is doing so bad in camp, a lot of people are kind of focusing on that and kind of excusing the defense. Not you guys, but a lot of media and such. I was just wondering, you guys have been at camp. Do you think we have any corners that can truly play man coverage against wide receiver one?
No.
I don't think you're going to see a ton of man.
Yeah.
I don't. So do you think it's sustainable to play zone and just hope that the wide receiver one's hurt every time we play a good team?
It's worked pretty well the last 22 years. No, I'm kidding. I think that they're going to have to play some man, obviously. But I do think it's like the last half of last year. I think they started out the season saying we want to play the way we play, and I think they looked at it and said we can't do that. We have to play We have to play more zone.
Yeah, there's some big questions. I mean, as to that, but I would say I think generally you just don't know in the defense. There's a lot of new guys that are going to be involved, and what we're seeing that I like is that you're seeing some one-on-one disruptive guys, which I think are just a key to a good defense up front. Guys that can win one-on-one, so they take matchups away from other people. But between the linebackers, between all these safeties, they're a game plan defense. I mean, Paul's right. It's going to be some zone, some man, but I think it's going to be more zone. How do they use all these safeties? And we see them experimenting with Jonathan Jones on the outside a little bit. Marcus Jones was excellent in coverage and mirroring guys and flipping his hips and sticking with guys in coverage. So they do have some guys with the skill set, not the big guys, but I think they have some matchup pieces that they'll play with that it won't be like, oh, God, but it's a murderer's row. It's a murderer's row this year of receivers that they have to play.
A little bit of housekeeping here before Paul steps aside to take care of his duties, to do his duty with the flagship over there. I never want to have a conversation while you're out of the room that you would rather be a part of.
Oh.
So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. Of things that you guys go ahead and talk about that without me.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I do want to talk to Deuce about the Antonio Brown story from earlier today.
That's a good one to talk to when I'm not there.
Oh, okay. So you don't care about that. Okay. There's also.
I mean, I think it's hilarious. It's not that I don't care. But
okay.
That's certainly you don't need me to pile on.
All right, that's good. That's what we'll talk about while you're out of the room.
Yeah.
What about the Lions on Hard Knocks? Did you watch the first
did.
episode yet?
I absolutely love. There's the shot that I was talking about with Bill with Kirk Ferentz, by the way, on 98.5.
Telling him what to do.
I loved the Aiden Hutchinson Billie Jean thing, not just because you see rookie goes up makes fool of himself, but the way the whole that's cool.
I'll say
the way the whole team jumped in with him.
You
didn't like it? You thought it was no good?
You know me, right? I'm a bit of a...
You hate everything.
I hate everything. I hate fun. I hate hardos, like all this stuff. I like Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I like what they got going there. They might be...
I don't like Dan Campbell. I think that's a problem.
I think he knows...
Dr. Phil.
No, he knows... Everything is with a wink. He knows what he's doing. He knows he comes off as a hardo, meathead, cement head.
He cried like 3 times in the first episode.
Okay, but that's hardo stuff. That's hardo stuff.
But can he coach? I know he can motivate. Can he coach?
I don't know that he can, but I think they're going to be the most likable 6-11 team.
I mean,
okay,
in the league.
Then I'm in agreement.
Oh, I'm bummed, but I did watch the episode, so I'm excited to talk about. Do we have to take a break or anything before we jump into it?
No. You and I are just.
But I mean,
keep
Dan
on
Campbell was
here.
crying. Was that Jamal Williams started crying in the middle of a speech? And the thing that really struck me, Hardy, with Hard Knocks is how physical they are. It does not look like what's going on out here. There are guys going to the ground and tackling in the Lions practice like you've never seen here out at Foxborough. So I think it's
We're going live day one.
Right?
What?
I don't mean to do this to you, man, but this is what we have to do. Like that's what he's yelling at him. I found it, and I've been in and out of Hard Knocks over the years, but I watched this one.
I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah,
and of course I'm back in because I grew up in Detroit, and I look. Someone needs to root for these guys, right?
Well, they seem pretty likable.
I think they're a likable team. And the thing about Dan Campbell, which I go back to last year, I think we talked about it on one of our post games here, was after the school shooting in Oxford, Michigan, and the Lions had got, they snapped the losing streak, or maybe it was the winless streak. I can't remember if they picked up the tie or the win. And the first thing Campbell does when he gets to the podium is he does 5 minutes on the school shooting, and he talks about that eloquently, poignantly, without any. He wasn't doing it for the attention. He was doing it because it was heartfelt, and I think he's a good guy. I don't know him from Adam. But, you at first glance, whether he's doing the push-ups or he's doing whatever, I'm like
50 up-downs.
This
that was like
freaking guy, the kneecap biting and all this stuff. But the more I see of him, that moment post-game after a Lions game, and then watching a bit more of him here in Hard Knocks, I'm like, I like it. I like what they're doing there, and I don't know if it's going to amount to anything in terms of wins.
That's the question.
but don't you?
I did his opening speech to the team. I was like, I'm in. I'm going to watch this whole episode just based on this speech, and I don't
get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right, and on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap.
There was even more of that stuff, but it's hard for him too because he's
One
just like a
cheek.
walking cliche of just how jacked he is and the voice and the goatee and the whole thing. But
he knows it. He's got remarkable awareness of how he comes off and what he's doing. He doesn't care.
I like him.
There's a certain comfort in that.
My big questions coming away and looking at them as a team that the Patriots are going to have to play this year. Was the physicality, but also all the coaches are former players. It's interesting here. You got a lot of players. I mean, certainly Troy Brown. I mean, there are some guys, Vinny Cincinnati, that played, but Bill's kids, like a lot of those guys, Matt Patricia, did not play NFL football. So it's it's almost like the coaches against the players, and a lot of those players who the Patriots kind of smacked around a little bit over the years too. So
that was the one thing I didn't quite dig was the amount of jawing back and forth between the coaches.
That felt excessive. Between it was Aaron Glenn, who I think is the defensive coordinator, and then is it Deuce Staley? I think Deuce Staley is the offensive coordinator, and it was like, you guys are working. Like, are you really trying to talk this much trash to each other?
Are you paying attention? Are you really working? Because it seems like you're putting an awful lot of time, energy, and effort with your next dig at your buddy
over
over there.
Defense and the offensive coordinator just doesn't shut up about how bad you guys are. Yeah, I mean, I know you're going against each other and it's competition, but at the end of the day, you're still a team that has to come together and win games for each other. So
right. That was
I'll be curious. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. Hutchinson's a really, he's a likable kid too. That the concert, as Paul said, was great. I love that he started to come in, was a little off key.
Yeah.
And then backed it up and then restarted. So, he's probably going to be a handful for a lot of offensive tackles this year.
All right, let's get to a couple more emails here, and then we'll probably have time to do our Antonio Brown segment before Paul gets back in.
Can't wait.
This is from Stacy. Wants to know, do you think Ty Montgomery could potentially fill James White's role in the backfield? We've already covered this a little bit, but quickly, Deuce?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think it's going to be as specific as it was before. I think he'll run it a little bit too, and Ramondre Stevenson catches the ball pretty well, and
that's what
Pierre Strong,
that's what Richard in Ohio says.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just adding.
Yeah, he does. He's looked pretty good at just catching the ball. I don't know if they believe in him to be that role, but my hope is that you just have backs, and it's not like here comes a pass. I mean, obviously, 3rd and long, you're going to have a certain light package for that. But I'd love to see Ramondre catch a little bit. Pierre Strong just starting to come on a little bit in the last couple of days as he's gotten healthy. It seems like I'd be curious tonight if him or Kevin Harris are able to have that preseason. There's always a running back in preseason that blows it up. Probably be J.J. Taylor as well.
We have one here from Todd in Greenville, North Carolina. He believes the year's entire success will be based on offense.
Yeah.
Too many opponents with capable offenses for our D to lead the team. What do you say? I disagree, Todd, at least at the beginning of the season. I think your defense is going to have to keep you in some games to start.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to have to show something new, and it starts right off the bat with Tua and Tyreek Hill and, just everything going on there down in Miami and how much success Miami has had against the Patriots. I do attribute some of that to Brian Flores being there and, just a little extra juice. But at the same time, I think the Dolphins have kind of out-executed the Patriots in key moments over the last 3 seasons. And, that's right off the gate. You start with one of your hardest divisional road game, and I think the defense is certainly going to have to show up and play really well against those guys. Marcus
in Waco says, I'm hearing a lot about fans being upset that Tyquan Thornton is number 11. I understand the history of the number. I'd like to get your guys' take on this.
I know. I wanted to see him in 88, but I'm fine with 11. I don't know. People take it personally with Jules. I'm a fan of putting numbers back in. I said it before. We should unretire. I think Brady, no disrespect to Andre Tippett, who's probably in the building. Don't kill me. I think just retire Brady and everything else is back in. I mean, I don't know how Nelly and Tip and, Bob D and all these people feel about that, but I just think it's an honor. It honors the players. I like going out there and still seeing a number 50 out there, and the legendary Patriots. I don't need to see it. Oh, it's just in the Hall of Fame. No one's ever going to wear that number again. I think the way they're doing 12 right now, make 12, and it'll be fun. I think 11 fits Thornton well. He's skinny, right? Two ones, it's kind of perfect.
Until the number is retired, you can wear the number.
Yeah.
And
that too.
I don't understand what the problem is. I really don't. All right, whatever. Great to have the Patriots Pregame Show back for the 2022 season. Hope the play on the field runs as smoothly as your show. What are you listening to, Bob in Wilmington? You guys haven't missed a beat. The only thing I'm hoping to see tonight is the team functioning smoothly, not perfectly, just smoothly. I would settle for smoothly.
Yeah.
Now, he's talking about correct personnel on the field, no unnecessary timeouts or stupid penalties. Well, it's preseason, so I don't know that you would see a ton of that anyway.
Yeah.
But honestly, just something to show that you can run this offense and that you can do something out there that's not a complete train wreck. Because there were moments in camp so far where it was train wreckish.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what's fun about the wide zone run that they do. I mean, it's just rep to the right, rep to the left. I mean, it's the same play and it's pretty identifiable, which is fun. Usually they're doing scheme stuff and it's so beyond your level of grasping it as even a football analyst that we do study it, but it's these guys are in the weeds of it all. I think we'll see it tonight, and I think you'll get a sense of how well some of these backup offensive linemen move. I think there could literally be starting jobs won tonight, based on how in sync they work. I mean, that's the big thing about this. It's about reps. Go back a little bit to the Alex Gibbs thing. I mean, this is the only run he would run. Like they wanted to do this one thing and do it well, and it's all based on timing and being on the move and being able to pick up blocks on the move, and for the running backs to be able to make their read and find the hole and explode through it. So it's such a timing issue. I think you'll see it tonight, and I think you will get a little bit of a sense, even if it's not the starters, you'll get a sense of overall how's the operation running, and are these guys starting to get in sync with that running play?
Let's get to Antonio Brown's comment on social media today.
Should we read it? Should I pull it up?
I have it in front of me. I have it in front of me. But if you're the one who brought it to my attention, so I will give you the honor of reading it if you would like.
I don't have it up, but if you want to give me any highlights, it's.
I'll give you the whole thing.
Go.
It's worth it. Antonio Brown posting today. My biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM a cracker or showing up to Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet or throwing rocks at that UPS driver. And it definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around the Jets Stadium mid-game while throwing up deuces. Hey. My biggest regret is that I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that, like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks. Antonio Brown on his biggest regret. Now, so it's treated like a quote from a story, but I think
he's just like making a statement,
saying it, and then it's Antonio. Okay. So that's Antonio Brown. On his biggest regret is that he'll never get to see himself play live.
He loves him some Antonio Brown, clearly.
That's one way of saying
it. Clearly. I don't know if Jesus would be performing it. Maybe he'd just be doing miracles or something at Red Rocks. He wouldn't
I don't
be
want to be
singing.
I don't want to be blasphemous, but yeah, I'm sure
Amplifies
he could do something like that. Now, the Beatles did not perform at Red Rocks, as far as I know.
No.
Pretty sure that didn't happen. Red Rocks, I'm guessing, didn't exist prior to the Beatles. If it did,
Colorado existed, but I don't know if they made the.
Was it
the
a
Red
state?
Rocks.
I'm not sure. I
believe.
I think Colorado,
if I remember correctly, I have been there.
our 50th state, brought into the Union early 80s. So here's what I can say about Antonio Brown. And this is not pandering. This is not tongue in cheek. This is not anything. The guy is still someone who is not well, and I didn't think he was well for a long, long time, even with the stuff that you wanted to brush off. And I really thought that everyone who said, man, he can play, get him here, I would take him in my team. At some point, you got to stand for something. And for one, I'm not a big fan of exploiting the talents of people who are otherwise unwell.
Yeah.
And I think he's unwell. And I think this is just more evidence of that. And I'm not saying that he's a danger to himself or society. The guy is not right. And he hasn't been right for a long time.
I mean, is it the Vontaze perfect hit? Like, I mean, remember that hit that the
That's
Bengals? I mean,
what a
lit him
lot of
up,
people
like,
seem to think.
People think that was what kind of jarred the screw loose with him. I mean, it's sad because as somebody who for one game watched him as all right, he's going to be a Patriot for this one game against the Dolphins. It was electric. I mean, he was like, you just were like, whew, like, whoa, this is going to be magical to watch, Tom Brady with this. And I guess that's what's sad about it is that, he's sitting there talking about how great it must have been to watch him. And it was great to watch you. Why couldn't we watch more of you? Because you can't seem to, get yourself straight.
Because he's
and
unwell.
Get right,
because he's unwell.
Because he's unwell. So it's just, he's got to continue to get his life in order. And I mean, it's just, it's not
Deuce
surprising.
thought this was going to be. Deuce thought this was going to be a fun segment talking about Antonio Brown. I took it to a very serious place.
He did, or you did?
He thought it was going to be fun.
I don't. Well, you rightly took it serious, though.
I came walking in and I heard he's going to have this one game and he's going to be electric against Miami, and I'm thinking Steven Jackson. We want to talk about Steven Jackson.
No. But you remember the one? I mean, that was my second game here. I think. I mean that
the
one
Antonio
game,
Brown
was
game. Yeah, it was like the
all
ultimate
that
tease.
talk of like, receivers, they have a hard time getting the offense, and he has to earn Brady's try. He just went right in and was like, boom, boom, boom. You just see it. I mean, how electric he was.
It's amazing. It wasn't too complicated.
It wasn't too complicated even for him.
Didn't have to dumb it down.
I guess when you are just like,
I guess when you have talent,
otherworldly electric.
I guess when you have a quarterback who can put the ball anywhere he wants. I'm not Patrick Mahomes style, but Brady, you give him a little bit of time in the pocket, just a half a second. That's all he needs.
I mean, just look at the game last year here. I mean, I know he had a couple drops, and I mean, it probably could have been not quite as close if he had made a couple catches. But I mean, he killed the Patriots last year with a couple big plays. I mean, Jonathan Jones, I think, was one of the one of his big plays downfield. He still has it. It's just. It's sad when somebody has the talent, but it can't happen now.
It's like the Bronx Tale, wasted talent.
Wow.
Red Rocks opened in 1941.
So the Beatles could have played it. You know what?
Did the Beatles play at Red Rocks?
Had they played at Red Rocks, somebody would have told us by now.
Probably.
There's enough Beatles fanatics.
There'd be
out
some
there.
black and white footage of them with the little, the haircuts and the, Did you watch the Apple thing with them? Yeah, we talked about that last season, didn't we?
I tried.
You couldn't get through it?
I couldn't get through it.
Oof.
Too much digital wizardry going on with that. The replicating of voices, and there's something. You know what it was? It's that uncanny valley they talk about. Whether you're watching the movie Cats or Avatar, it's like I know what I'm supposed to be watching right now is supposed to be real, but I can tell it's not real, and it's giving me an uneasy feeling.
Yeah, that's the Star Wars prequels for me, Matt Morrell. That one's for you.
The Beatles played on August 26, 1964 at Red Rocks. 6th stop on their American tour.
They did it.
Was there a question of AB's validity?
Oh, we just didn't know if it existed when
Beatles
were around.
Deuce is the one who started, goofing on Jesus and what he would do at Red Rocks. I'm like, that's blasphemous,
miracles.
and I'm not going to go
Miracles.
there.
No, I'm not going
I'm
there
like,
either.
I don't think the Beatles played Red Rocks. And 1964, Matt Morrell telling us that they did in fact play at Red Rocks. Wow, how could that? That seems like that would be an iconic photo that would be shared everywhere.
Oh, beautiful.
And the Beatles at Red Rocks.
Oh.
Pretty big photo I'm looking at.
You had to be there.
Had you ever seen it before?
I can honestly say I have not.
And that is my point. All right. Anyway, so there we go.
Watching Mac yucking it up with Brian Dable on the field.
And they have a little history. I think
Mac taught him the offense.
Mac was a freshman, I
Yeah,
think, when Dable was still at Alabama, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to step aside. Warm-ups taking place right now, so we'll continue watching those and monitoring those. We are less than an hour from kickoff. What time are we going to kick off tonight? 7:01, something like that?
Tension palpable.
Is it?
No.
I was going to say where? You were 18 feet away at the most. Was there tension over there? There's no tension in here.
There's a little cooler in there, though.
I'm going to step in there for how much time is this break? 2 minutes?
2 minutes. This thing will be over in 2 minutes. Get on it.
Mavericks disengaging. Paul, one quick thing, though, about the Hard Knocks. Detroit getting after it in practice. Tackling to the ground.
Really?
Hitting right out of the gate.
Oh, my God.
How many injuries they got so far? Hardy, this is a question for you because you know.
I didn't see
line.
any.
I know.
I didn't see any. There were a lot of people crying, though. Not so much.
I did see the guy.
That's just emotion.
I forget
Not
the
because of
player's
injury.
name that broke down the huddle one day.
Yeah, Jamal Williams.
Yes,
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, he starts crying. That was one of them.
He
But
does.
I like that.
Yeah.
I liked what he said, not the crying part. I don't have any problem with the
crying?
crying part. I'm an emotional dude. I have no problem with that. I cried at the, like Freddie Toucher the other day was talking about the Wonder Years finale. Yeah, come on. Fade to Black, I cry.
Okay.
I feel it.
I want to like it. Don't get me wrong. I want to like it, but I was also the first one to point out in our text chain about that moment that he said something to the effect of, I want to find it exactly here.
I'm tired of that record.
What did he say?
Paying us 3 wins.
No, it just didn't. It didn't sound right. Oh, today is the minimum of effort. What?
Print up the T-shirts.
Today is the minimum of effort.
Today is the day he became a Yankee.
Like, I want to say I know what you're saying, but I don't even know what you're saying. And what you said, no, I don't think that's a good thing, and I'm not even sure what you were trying to say.
I was just thinking of like the poor guy who's like number 87 on the roster. Like one of the bottom of the. He wasn't even here. He's just like his head is awash in NFL football, and he's like, "What's this guy talking about? Like, what?"
Did you guys not win last year?
Yeah.
You guys are bad.
I couldn't have found Michigan on a map until I got drafted. I really have no idea. All right,
there's 2 of them too. I mean, that's 2 Michigan.
We have to break. And no, there's only one Michigan. It's the Lower Peninsula. That other thing is Wisconsin. All right, more Patriots pregame show fueled by Dunkin coming up in just
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Olympia Sports, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including 6 String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar, watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Johnny, you phonic.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Milk Monday is not just about milk and UFOs and the Bridgewater Triangle pole.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
No more Milk Mondays. Is that what we were talking about there?
Yeah.
Jeez, Winovich, Milk Monday?
Yeah.
Won't be having that no more.
New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah. From Chase no more.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, Patriots Pregame Social, which is fueled by Dunkin. So are we doing our over-unders here? You want to do those right away here, Matt? Might as well get to them. How about we do one call first?
Surprised you guys haven't done any numbers talk tonight.
Oh, I was saving you from that, Paul.
Were you?
We did talk about Thornton being 11.
Were you upset about it?
No.
No,
I was
you were
all right with
like
11.
You were
I
trying,
wanted
like,
to see 88.
Quote, you were trying to will him.
I was trying to. I wanted 88.
How this like?
I think that's
this
a great
is,
receiver.
I have
number.
like 5 things about Deuce that I just like. I'm like, I can't believe
Like
I spend
numbers?
so much time with this guy.
Yeah.
Someone who thinks about
some
so many
quirks.
things in a way that I could never possibly find interesting.
You like
in it.
numbers, though.
Hit me with it.
I like numbers, but I don't lose sleep over them. I certainly wouldn't ever tweet out a number.
I do not care about. I'm the worst at jersey numbers. I couldn't tell you who wore what beyond a handful of guys.
So-
and for someone wearing 11, until it's retired, anybody can wear it. I don't care.
Oh, I don't have any problem with wearing it. They let Edelman wear it. I don't care. We have to retire it for it.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one too. But you like when you played sports, you didn't care what number you got, like when on the team. They're just like, whatever, coach, give me.
Oh, I cared about my number.
My number.
I just don't care about yours or
I
anybody
don't
else's.
care about
You only
yours
care
or
about
anyone
yourself.
else's, and I'm not sure what yours is.
Right.
It's a real problem for watching
I
and
just think-
identifying players. I can tell you that much. I wish I did care more.
I just think 88's a good receiver number. I kind of want it, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay. With
We
it.
are
I'm not
starting
gonna
to
lose any
get some of the
sleep.
pictures and stuff, out on the field. So,
I just
all right,
pulled
well,
up
okay, you can bring up.
Thank you, because I'm not getting any pictures in here. I don't know what you're
Unity.
talking about. All right, Unity in Pittsburgh. What's going on?
Not much. Just glad that football season is back.
It
right.
is. It is.
God bless America.
Kind of.
God bless America indeed, and the rest of the world, my friend.
Yes.
Nice to have you guys back.
Thank you.
So I'm just hearing a bunch of background noise as far as the team not coming together, as far as running different plays. I think we should at least see the first 3 preseason games first before we start drawing conclusions. I think we should improve more than last year, and I can't wait till we see Buffalo, because that was heartbreaking the way we went out. So I don't know. I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts, and also shout out to Antonio Brown. The album ain't bad,
Oh, I haven't heard the album. I'll take your word for it, Unity. I don't have a lot of free time to sit down.
You're
and
not
listen
playing
to.
that one on your DJ channels there, Hardy?
I am not. You know what? The Patriots should have improved this year, but you also have to. That is under a baseline of continuing offensively what they started last year. And if you install a new offense, I cannot say definitively that they should improve. They may take a step back. And also, if improve in a vacuum, maybe. But I think other teams improved personnel-wise, and the Patriots didn't improve as much as some other teams that they'll be facing this
I
year.
would even argue, like, there are elements that I think, like, Mac Jones in year 2 should be better than he was as a rookie. I think that's a fair assumption, right? I don't think that's undue pressure.
But even with
I don't think that the team has improved in terms of personnel from last year. I think they lost more talent than they gained. So I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if they're better now. The overriding point that is, I think, inarguable is the one that Hardy made. The rest of the AFC has improved more than if you've improved. The rest of the AFC has improved by leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah,
and I think Mac is more ready to play. And that's
Mac should be better in year 2, no doubt.
With a different offense, I don't know that.
No, but he should be a better player. That's all I'm saying.
How can you tell if the offense doesn't?
This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen, and it's what Deuce talked about a half hour ago. Like everybody's like, the play call. Oh, the call. It was a terrible play.
Matt Patricia. They set him up for
any
to
offensive
fail.
struggles they have this year. Mac's going to skate. Mac's going to skate. It's all going to fall on Bill ultimately.
Okay.
But even he is Teflon.
So
it'll be on Patricia and or Judge.
But if you're talking about Max skating, the most you can do is say like, well, he didn't get any better, but he didn't get any worse because
See,
it's
but
not
I'll
his
tell
fault.
you, like in training camp, he has not been as good in this training camp as he was in last year's training camp.
Yeah.
So I question what I do not sign off on like, oh, Mac will be better this year. No, not in. I don't do it anyway. If they kept the same offense, we've seen plenty of quarterbacks take a step back in year 2.
Fair point.
So
Fair
I
point.
I don't sign off either way.
Okay. Hardy, Colin, not sold on Jones.
Well,
that's what they do on NBC Sports.
Yeah,
Boston.
whatever. Okay.
You
all
know,
right,
you
that's
and I
fair.
have both been guilty of
well,
we've
been
fallen
victim
prey
of,
to that.
We've been victim. We haven't been guilty, but
Yeah,
we have
victimized by it.
That's right. All right, let's
Look at
let's
Jimmy White.
do them over-unders.
Oh, we got over-unders.
It's time for this week's edition of Over Unders.
You're over me? When were you under me?
All right, let's.
Hate to interrupt you. Are you okay?
Oh no, Paul and I were just having a nuts and bolts discussion here. It's a version of Red Zone Paul that
about
showed up.
about things that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing.
No, it's
Red Zone Paul is chiming in the preseason, and there is no Red Zone.
I wasn't criticizing you.
No, you
That's not what-
are 1,000% correct. However,
All right, let's do these over-unders. What are the season standings, Matt?
Mike 0-0, Paul 0-0, Hardy 0-0.
And just who won last year?
You have them in front of you.
Probably Mike. I think it was Mike. Was it Mike?
It was not Mike.
Oh.
I got 19 pages of material. It was
not the mama. Yeah.
Think
no, that was the 6
3 pages each.
Oh, over-unders was I thought it was. I thought you
file
Hardy.
cabinet. It's a lot of pages.
Over-unders was
Mike won.
Oh no, Paul won over-unders.
Reading.
Oh, 50. Okay, fine, whatever.
Reading's
I
hard.
came in last.
Yeah, I came in first.
Okay, great.
Oh, by a wide margin.
Here we go. New year. Let's go.
So this is an audible from what you have on your sheets. Bailey Zappi passing yards 189 and a half.
Oh, snap.
We're going off the board?
Yes.
What'd you say? 189 and a half?
Correct.
I'm going to go under.
Oh,
Hold on.
me?
Is this in addition to something that's on
No,
our
because
sheet?
Mac Jones is probably not
replacing the
gonna play.
Mac Jones one.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I
so-
think you can keep the Mac Jones series thing in there, but we won't. Okay. How many series will he play? I mean, you could put it at a half, and we could still have it in there.
Yeah.
But all right, Zappy.
Okay, so you say under 189 and a half for Zappi passing yards. I am going to agree with Mike and say under 189 and a half.
Yeah, we're all going under on that one.
Tyquan Thornton receptions 3.5.
Paul, you're up first on this one.
I am going to go under in this one also. It's a good number though. I'm going to go 3. I'm going to say under.
I too will go under on this one.
I hate to keep it all the same, but I'm going to go under 2. I think he's 2.
Okay.
Patriots defensive interceptions at a half.
Oh,
They will get a pick tonight. I am going over.
yeah, I'm over 2.
Yeah, I'll take the under.
Ooh. All right, finally, blood in the water.
Perillo.
Well, I think the
Not impressed.
Giants have. No, I'll give you my reasoning, and we'll see what happens when they throw 4 picks. But I think the Giants have somewhat veteran-ish quarterbacks with Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and Davis Webb.
I think so. I don't know.
I just heard a strange buzz when you said
Davis.
Something like that. Is that his name? I think that's his name. Yes, Davis Webb.
Perillo picks, no picks.
And I think the Patriots are playing all backups.
Okay.
Number of series Daniel Jones will play 1.5.
Deuce.
I'm going to go over on that one. I think he's got 2 or 3 in him.
I will take the under. He'll play the first series.
I'm going to take the under with Paul just for the sake of sport.
Well, here's our fun one for
why
the week.
exactly would over not have been sport?
Number of camera shots of Matt Patricia using the headset.
Oh, I love this one.
12.5.
We're going to watch this and keep track
Yeah,
of it?
who's
Like
that?
somebody's
Yeah.
eagle-eyed.
LePan. This is all LePan.
LePan, all right. I need them. I need the time codes on those LePan.
Is this me?
Yeah, this is you.
I'm taking the under.
12 and a half
Heavy.
sounds
12 and a
like
half
a
heavy
lot.
lot.
That sounds a lot. I'm going under on this one, too.
I'm going to go over just for fun. Just for fun. I think they got a lot of shots.
Deuce could kick our asses
Right,
this
right.
week.
If this goes over, something went wrong. Just gonna let you in. Just gonna let you in on a little secret.
Yeah, something went horribly wrong for the Patriots offense if Deuce wins this prop. Okay, and finally,
As we always end with the total score of 33.5.
you know, I screwed up. I didn't ask Daryl Slater behind enemy lines for a score prediction, but can we just make a rule now we won't do that for the preseason?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
33 and a half. I'm going to go under.
I'm going under 2. These are not 2 offenses that have lit the world on fire here recently. So, yeah.
I'll take the over.
Wow, nice. All right.
33.5 is that's a small number.
You know what they say to me? The action is the juice. I love it.
That's true.
They do say that.
We got that action. And
I
then
don't know
mass
where
sports
they say
gambling,
it.
too. It's here. It's arrived.
A lot of stuff going on. And the action is the juice, of course, in the movie Heat. And the new novel Heat 2 was released on Tuesday. I got mine in the mail.
Get your copy. Oh, really?
Michael Mann.
For what? Just being a big fan?
Wrote a book called Heat 2 he co-wrote with this, crime novelist.
It's a continuation of the story.
But also a prequel. It's kind of got a Godfather 2 vibe to it.
Are we following both?
Oh, okay. So
are we following both guys, Pacino and De Niro? Or there's
well,
more
De Niro's dead.
Character? Right.
So, but we get prequel of De Niro.
Prequel of De Niro.
And I think the post is Pacino and Val Kilmer, because Val Kilmer is the only one left alive.
I know. Wasn't that the toughest part of Top Gun 2? The Val Kilmer scenes. That's sad.
Yeah, but overall, it's fun.
It's fine.
So, I think we pretty much got to everything we needed to. I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit of Tom Brady and him missing camp, but
what's up with that?
We really don't know what's going on down there. So I kind of want to defer on all that, because I think it still could be something family related for him, and I kind of don't want to touch it.
That's kind of how I feel about it too.
Yeah,
I don't have any idea. I don't have any inside information there at all.
Right.
But that's in the back of my mind. That's my fear. It's family related and health related.
It just seems like a complicated season coming up. Like
They're
in one
dealing with
way or
a lot.
another. It's just a lot going on with him, with the retirement, with
They
the
lost a
injuries,
second
with guys
center
coming
yesterday,
back.
supposedly.
Gronk gone. I mean, I think he was just a nice, reliable piece for Tom. I mean, I hate to call Gronk a reliable piece, but Gronk's Gronk. I mean, that's just some changes, and it just hasn't been a normal offseason for him too. So we'll see how it all translates when they get out there. But as Paul said, I mean, it was a little bit of like, what did he say? Like, he will probably be our starter or something like that. Was
I mean, Todd Bowles didn't say, "Oh yeah, he'll be our starter." Like, he left it open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he said basically 99%. But I just found it interesting that he didn't say unequivocally.
Of course. He'll be back.
He'll be starting.
It'll all be fine by early September. And Tom's been here 22 years. He knows what he's doing.
Final looky-loo for the night. What is the one thing? Just tell me one thing. We all have an assignment thing to report back on, so let's not make it something obvious. We all have one assignment to keep our eye on something tonight. Deuce, what do you want?
Give me a Tyquan Thornton wow play.
Okay, so you're on Tyquan Thornton watch.
Just
tonight.
give me one play where everyone goes, "Woo! All right, we got something there."
Well, I'm not saying the one prediction. You're just gonna. It is your job to watch Tyquan Thornton tonight. Really keep an eagle eye on.
I got him.
Okay, Paul.
I'll watch the unproven linebackers.
Okay.
The McGrones, the Jennings, I don't know, Uche, Perkins, those guys, that group. I'll watch those guys and see if we have any flying to the ball playmaker types.
Yeah.
Okay. I will make the ultimate sacrifice and watch the offensive line.
Oh, I thought you were saying Nick Folk.
No.
Nick Folk, everybody.
Wow, this guy's money.
Make sure he's still got it.
What's to watch? Do you want to change yours?
What's to watch?
He's watching linebackers. I'm watching O-line. Do you want a tougher assignment than Tyquan Thornton?
I'll do generally receivers. I can do generally receivers.
Trey Nixon.
Yeah, Trey
Come
Nixon.
on down.
Yeah, see if he's got anything.
Okay. All right. Receivers it is. All right. Please join us in the postgame. We'll be back here breaking down everything from Patriots Giants tonight here at Gillette Stadium. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.